Ar-Rahman. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about love. Yes, we are. It's something that I actually get asked about quite often, especially on TikTok lives. Okay, people are asking me for some perspective on what is it that you're supposed to look at when you're looking for a spouse, a companion. First of all, let's start at the question of what is love, folks? What is love? We sometimes look at some interpretations of love through movies, through music videos, through reading books, okay? And it gives us an idea of what this is. But it's not something that you can quite describe. Love is something that you have to experience, something you have to feel. Similarly to other emotions like happiness, right? You can't really describe happiness. You have to feel happy to really understand what happiness is. Same with sadness. Okay, you have to experience what sadness is to actually understand what that really is. Okay, and sometimes we get so overwhelmed with happiness, we have tears of happiness or tears of sadness, right? Same with love. Love is something that you have to experience in order for you to understand it. And to be honest, not all of us, unfortunately, experience love in this physical world. Okay, if you're fortunate enough, you may have had a loving parent, loving friend, loving sibling, loving spouse, loving companion. We can experience some form of expressions of love through these relationships, right? But if you take an honest assessment of all the interactions that you have with everybody, they normally tie back to some type of give and take, right? In order for you to sustain that relationship, it requires an exchange of things, exchange of actions, exchange of energy, okay? And some relationships can be quite conditional. If you're fortunate enough, you may have experienced some form of unconditional love as well in this 3D reality that we live in. I was fortunate, I will say, to have experienced a beautiful form of unconditional love through my mother. Okay, even when she was mad at me, even when she didn't want to speak to me sometimes, that would not stop her from calling me and telling me to come downstairs and eat the dame bole before they're finished. Okay, or eating the biryani before it's gone. Okay, I have hundreds of voicemails from my mother, and they are from all times that we had ups and downs in our relationship. And that was a form of unconditional love, right? To be able to care for somebody genuinely, even when you might not be the most happiest with them, right? But if you haven't experienced that, there is another form of unconditional love that we experience every single second of the day. And that is through Al-Wadud, the most loving one. Now you might be thinking, well, how? How do I know if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is loving me? How do I know that, right? Now, I could have tied probably all of the 99 names and more, right, back to this name, because each of the names actually tie back to him being the most loving. There is a form of love in every single one of his attributes, but I've managed to whittle it down to about 7 more names, okay, which I will run through to give us a little bit of an understanding of how these are also a form of love, okay? So, starting off with Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahīm, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. The Quran contains 114 chapters, and every single one of those chapters starts off with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I like to start the videos also with this sentence, right? We're invoking the entirely and especially merciful. He's letting you know before each chapter to look at it from this lens. There's our highs and lows in the Quran, okay? There are things that are revealed to us about what's happened throughout history that are not always the most joyous stories, okay? But if you look at it from the lens of mercy, you have a different interpretation of them. Understood? Next up, we have Al-Latif and Ar-Rauf. Okay, Al-Latif is the gentle, the benevolent, the subtle, and we have the most compassionate, who is Ar-Rauf. Now, him being the most gentle, the subtle, he shows us this throughout our day, okay? Throughout the ease that we experience in our day, from being able to even just wake up, right? The subtle things that we get to experience in this life is a form of his gentleness, the subtle things, and they tie back to a form of his love, okay? Again, with Ar-Rauf, him being the most compassionate, he doesn't burden us with anything beyond what we can actually bear. There's compassion behind each and every one of the things that we experience, the trials, the tests, everything, okay? Then we also have Al-Wali. He is your patron, my bad, Patreon, that's something else. Patron, caretaker, friend, that's who he is. He is also Al-Muhaymin, the overseeing guardian. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that he loves us more than our own mother. If you've experienced a mother's love or a parent's love, you'll understand that that love is very intense and it's very wholesome if done correctly. He loves you more than your mother could ever love you. So that's showing you the level of love. That just shows you a little bit of the level of love that he holds for you. And he's your guardian. He's the guardian of your parents and you. He's the guardian of every single living being. Okay? And then we have Ash-Shakur, the most appreciative. Now, I know sometimes we don't feel appreciated for the things that we do. Some of the actions and gestures and intentions that we have for people that we care about, they're not always appreciated. We don't get that validation sometimes that we might be looking for. He appreciates even the smallest things. Even if it's you just taking a second out of your day just to think of him and making a dua to him, the smallest things that you could think of. He appreciates every single gesture, every single intention, every unspoken word, and every spoken word. So if you don't ever feel any validation from other people, know that he is validating you. He's appreciating you more. And that actually means a lot more than anybody could ever do for you, right? So, yeah. These are the names that I kind of like clubbed them with, but I thought if I did any more, we'd be here for a long time, okay? But essentially, you could tie back every single one of these names back to the most loving one. Where is he? Where'd you go? There he is. Al-Wadud. That honest assessment that we do of the interactions that we have with people. It really does help to filter out who in your life is being transactional with you and who isn't, and where intentions lie. So let's get into the topic of love in the sense of companionship and spouses. What is it that you should be looking for when you are looking for a spouse? Now, my perspective on this is quite simple, okay? You may get another opinion, okay? But somebody who is in love with their creator or is aspiring to form a relationship of love with their creator actively, someone who is looking at their creator from that lens, is having their character refined in that process. When you look at your relationship with your creator from a perspective of love, you end up fulfilling those actions not from fear of his wrath. Of course, you should be fearful of his wrath. And that is explicitly noted for those who are extremely misguided, right? But also to understand that just as when you do something for somebody else, or you commit to somebody else in some way and then you don't follow through with it, they feel let down. Or when somebody commits something towards you and they don't follow through with it, you might feel a sense of displeasure, right? If you look at that relationship with your Creator from the lens of love, you will want to fulfill your obligations from a place of not wanting to displease him, not to displease your Creator. And that lens, as a byproduct, will make you have a character of being loyal to your Creator, being honest, being trustworthy. All of these attributes that you look at, that you want to experience in any relationship, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a family member, whatever it may be, for those individuals to be righteous and good to you, which is essentially what you're looking for, someone who will be good to you, loving to you, they will have these characteristics embodied in them when they're on the pursuit of aspiring a loving relationship with their Creator, because they are looking at life from the correct lens, which is that. So they will, as a byproduct of this, fulfill their salah, carry out their charity, carry out fasts, do the things that were made as obligations. Will not feel like chore. It will feel as an act of forming a closer bond with their Creator. It won't seem like a burden. It will be seen and experienced and felt as if of a gesture of love towards their Creator. That's my perspective anyway. You take what you want from that. Okay, let's get into our reflective questions. Question number 1. Do I treat my worship as a transaction or as an expression of love? When we worship something, that is an expression of love. When you worship, that is you expressing a form of love. But think about it. Do I actually treat my worship as an expression of love, or is it just transactional? Question number 2. Am I acting out of fear of punishment or fear of disappointing the one who loves me the most? All right. Now, we are going to finish off on a beautiful dua, which is captured in this book called Secrets of Divine Love by A. Helwa. I was thinking about what should be our dua to close off, and then this dua is perfect. There's no way that I could have written anything better than this. So this is what we're going to close off on. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this beautiful lady for this beautiful dua. Okay. Alhamdulillah. All praise and gratitude due to Allah, Lord of all worlds. Alhamdulillah. All praise to Allah, the God of the universe, the Lord of love, the face of mercy, and the creator of all that is and ever will be. Oh Allah, thank you for giving us the opportunity to know, love, and worship you. Thank you for reaching out to us, for speaking to us, for sending messengers for us, and for loving us infinitely more than we could ever imagine. Oh Allah, you are the source of peace, and from you comes all peace. So Allah, encompass me with your peace. My beloved Lord, in your name I pray for all those who are suffering in the world to find the peace they so desperately seek. I pray for the heartbroken, the depressed, the hungry, the sick, the oppressed, the grieving, the outcast, those who live in war-torn countries, those who are being unjustly evicted from their homes, and for all those who have lost something they cannot get back. Oh Allah, rain your love upon this earth. Fix what is broken, mend what is torn, and bring a lasting peace to this world. Oh Allah, help me become a representative of your divine love and healing for all people without discrimination. Oh Allah, make my soul generous and my tongue kind. Oh Allah, make my faith strong and my heart soft. Oh Allah, make my mind pure and my actions sincere. My beloved Lord, help me to be steadfast on the straight path and to become a faithful servant in service of you and your creation. In your beautiful, majestic, and loving names, I pray. Ameen. That's beautiful. This is a beautiful book. If you haven't read it, I suggest definitely reading it. Shout out to the person who gifted this to me. Okay. See you soon. Peace.